Hey y'all, welcome back to a brand new video on my channel. If this is your first time coming across one of my videos, please don't make it your last. Click on that subscribe button and come back because I'm sure you're going to love the videos on this channel. On my channel, we'll talk about career, faith, and everything in between. So don't forget to come back for that. And if you're an already existing subscriber, thank you so much for stopping by once again. You already know I have so much love for you. And I'm just going to get right into today's video. As you can see by the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about 3 things that I wish I learned a bit earlier in my work in the corporate world. Just a little bit of background for you guys. My name is Didiolua, and I started working in the corporate world about 5 years ago when I graduated university. And I've worked in the corporate world for about 2 years in the Nigerian market and about 3 years in the international market. And these 3 tips that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, I think is applicable for both the international market and the Nigerian market. I know we're always talking smack about the corporate world and how your corporate job is the job that your boss pays you to forget your own dream. And I get where you're coming from, but the truth is that the corporate world is going to be here for a very long time. It's the foundation upon which our economy exists. The educational industry, the medical industry, the healthcare and engineering industry, they all exist on the basis of the corporate jobs and corporate world. So it's always going to be available. Use this to your own advantage. That is where the game changer is, and that is why I'm sharing these 3 tips today. First tip I'm going to be talking about is that there's a high chance that you walk into your corporate job with more skills and knowledge than you walk out of it if you're not intentional. And that is why it's very important to keep upskilling. I've realized that when I'm a new employee in a new job, I was the most skilled person, I was the most knowledgeable person on all the subjects. And it wasn't because I was better than anyone. It was just because I hadn't been complacent. I was looking for a new job, so obviously I kept track of things and I was making sure that I was up to date on the new trends in the market. And that is where us corporate people kind of get it wrong. Is that when we get a new job, we kind of just we take the back pedal and we just relax and continue to do our everyday repetitive job. And because it's so time consuming, you kind of forget that you're not preparing yourself for a future job or future opportunities, which is why it's so important to continue to upskill. Obviously, there are certain organizations that are very intentional about letting their employees continue to educate themselves on the industry, but that is not as common as I would like for it to be. So the onus or the responsibility is on the employee to actually, start to learn. And they're not always going to be expensive things, you guys, because I feel like when you talk about professional development, the first thing that you think is, oh, I don't want to pay for that. But there are courses on Coursera, Allison that are actually very cheap and they're niche specific that can help you learn whatever it is that is new in your industry. I mean, right now, AI is a thing that is trending and the things that you need to know. So if you're currently a corporate person and you're not tapping into that, you're making yourself obsolete and you're stifling yourself. And that is where the frustration comes from, where you feel like you're no longer relevant in the international market. And that is not true if you continue to upskill yourself and make yourself more valuable in your current job. So this is going to lead me to my second point, and my second tip is that you must always continue to sing your own praises. Guys, I'm the most introverted person. You know me, you know that I hate to be the person to be center stage or take credit for something that I did. I'd rather someone else take credit for something that I did. And that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I started my corporate career and my work. It's just that I made sure that I wasn't seen. I just did excellent work. And I thought, oh, well, if I'm doing excellent work, that is enough. They're always going to need me if I do excellent work. But the truth is, if you continue to do excellent work, they're always going to need you in that position. And you're always going to stay in that position without actually moving. But if you continue to do excellent work and you show yourself to take initiative and you show yourself to be the person that, you're able to take initiative to do other things, they start to realize that maybe your current role is not good enough for you, and maybe they need to move you up. And that is how you start to move up the corporate ladder, because what good is the corporate world if you can't move up the corporate ladder? And that's why I highly recommend singing your own praises. Make sure everyone knows what you did. It can be very annoying for someone like me, but it's just how you have to play the game. The game is the game. You either get into the ring or you get out. And also, to add to that, I would also say be very sociable. When I first started working in the corporate world, I was always to myself. I wasn't talking with people. I was just very introverted, which is my nature, but your nature is not always going to get you what you want. So if you're a corporate girly and you're very introverted, I highly recommend being more sociable. Obviously, there's a balance to these things. You're not too sociable that, you're not towing the line of inappropriate things. You must be appropriate while being sociable, just being able to, do the best of both worlds. And yeah, I think that would also be helpful to anyone who is currently in the corporate world. My last and final point, which is always have a self-employed mentality. I'll talk a little bit about what a self-employed mentality means. Self-employed mentality basically is when an employee thinks that they own the company. So when I refer to my company, I don't say, oh, this is the company that I work with. I talk about it in terms of my own company, and I also act like it's my company as well. And I know this is going to be a bit controversial, because to some people it's like, well, it's not your company, and you're probably enriching your CEO or your founder who is currently on a yacht somewhere, on a beach somewhere, having the best time of their life. But having a self-employed mentality doesn't only favor your boss, it also favors you. And this is how it favors you. It makes you take on responsibility and capacity for a role that you currently are not equipped for. And that role or that responsibility that you've taken on can be transferable when you become your own CEO. In simpler terms, you're becoming a CEO before you become a CEO. And it's like a dress rehearsal. You already know how to take on the risks. You already know the responsibilities that are associated with being the owner of the company. You already know the ropes, because when you have a self-employed mentality, you want to see things through. You want to see how this problem started, how it ends, and you know the structure and the system. And once you start to know the structure and the system, you're becoming, someone who is powerful enough to start their own venture. And when you start your own venture, you're not starting from the scratch. You're starting with knowledge that you were not employed for initially, but because you had the mentality that this was your company and you saw structures and systems through from the beginning to the end, it's not as hard on you as when you start your own venture. I hope this video was helpful. I wanted this to be really short because my short mission here is that someone watching this video learns something about the corporate world and how they can excel in it. So I'm just going to recap just so we can remember what we talked about. The first thing that we talked about is, for your corporate work, continue to upskill, because there is a chance that you leave your corporate work with more skill and knowledge than you enter into it if intentional. The second thing I talked about is that don't forget to sing your own praises and be very sociable as well. Nobody's going to sing your praises for you, and that's the truth about being an adult and working in an adult environment. In fact, people would want to steal your praises from you, and I assure you, always have the audacity of a 40-year-old white male you're going to need in the corporate world. And just like one of my favorite quotes ever, it says, "Good girls don't get the corner seat."
Start by saying that one of my favorite books is Good Girls Never Get the Corner Office. Mr. Speaker, this is in response to what you are telling me earlier in the morning when you are urging me to be a good example to the girls, the younger ones who are doing their first term. Mr. Speaker, if they are good girls, they'll never get corner office. Do not be cheated like the African culture where you are told have decorum, dress nicely, be kind, be nice. I'm telling you, you will go nowhere.
Not saying you should be a bad person. I'm just saying be the kind of person that shows up at your work. Be the kind of person that, asks questions and make sure that they know that you exist. And that's the only way that anyone will try to talk about you or favor you. If they don't know you, they can't do that. And the final thing, which I think for me is very important, is to have a self-employed mentality. No, you're not benefiting your boss alone when you have a self-employed mentality. You're benefiting yourself because you're positioning yourself and you're learning the skills that are required to lead an organization. I hope this video was helpful. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, y'all.